a long time ago. How young were we?
We haven't changed it.
That's the only right thing to say, Stefan. Thank you. Yeah. We were young and burning with a desire to make the world a better place. And nothing could stop us. And you know what? When I just heard our panel and I heard Paap speaking about the urgency and the need, that desire is as burning as before, and even with a greater sense of urgency. We really started, as humble as we look there, $1,500 between the two of us to start the organization, and we just jumped on that plane after desk research and after creating a strong support base in the Netherlands. Small, my dad, Astrid, here present as well, and Kolke, another board member. The three of them formed our support base. And Raj and I, we just went. We took that plane. I sold my car, hence the $1,500. We left our jobs, and I just heard Maurits and Petra saying they have a niece who wants to do the same, and they called her a little bit naive. We were! But 25 years down the line, here we are, and we are so incredibly happy to celebrate our successes with you, our lessons learned, our challenges, our journey from the Netherlands to Africa, back to the Netherlands, creating bases all over. 25 years ago and a bit, 25 years and a bit ago, we wrote a blueprint for Young Africa. And when you read it now, those 2 pages, the typewriter, it's actually still what we are very much doing. Now let me link you back to what it is all about. It's not about our story, but it's really the story of Agnes, whom you already met in the video, bridging the gap. The single mother, you see her walking here in actually one of Susan's training centers in Zimbabwe, with her baby tied on her back. This single mother who's got this huge problem. She's single, she's got a baby, she's got, well, no skills, and hence no livelihood. Susan has described to you the problems that face our youth sufficiently, and all of them were upon Agnes. And that's also how we started. Nowadays it's called a needs assessment. About 25 years ago we were just going around and talking to everyone who wanted to talk to us with 3 questions. The first one, what are the dreams of young people in Zimbabwe? The desk research and the reply of the embassy of Zimbabwe in Brussels were actually the defining factor why we started in Zimbabwe, wanting to go somewhere with a fertile soil, and Zimbabwe it was. So the 3 questions: what are the dreams of young people to build a life for themselves? What are the constraints they meet in making those dreams come true? And what can a small organization, we didn't tell anyone how small we really were, as Young Africa could do to contribute to their life? And the answer was unanimous: skills training and entrepreneurship development. And that's what we are still doing. So I hereby want to link our story to the story of Agnes, our journey with the journey that Agnes is going through right now. Going through the history of Young Africa, there's no one who can actually tell that better than Raj, my partner, co-founder, partner in life as well, and literally the architect of everything that makes Young Africa unique. The franchise model, the integral approach, And well, lucky me, we were working together. Raj retired, but is still my strongest advisor. Solicited, not solicited. So Raj, over to you to walk us, deep dive us through the history of young Africa.
No, with all the sweet smile with which Dorien invited me, I'm scared of the threat she gave. Because I belong to the group, in a WhatsApp group of, we are all 70 plus. We studied in the same Don Bosco school years ago in India, southern part of India, for 6-7 years, and we are all anywhere between 81, I think, is the oldest, and 72 is the youngest. So one of the things recently I read there is, look, very rarely people invite you to speak. But when you're called to speak, don't look at the clock, look at your calendar. So today is 20. So make sure you have a day to finish, So anyway, but I know my friends, so I have to be careful. I will look at the clock. In fact, I will count the minutes. So you see, Dorien mentioned to you, you see, how this whole thing came about. I think, first of all, I came to Africa 33 years ago, invited by a Don Bosco priest, because I used to be roaming around India for 8 years, introducing what we call in the Catholic universities and the Catholic seminaries, media studies, because India is a huge film country, and some few Jesuit priests were working there in the universities. They said, what we have to make about a change in the production of the quality of films in India by changing the quality of the audience. So why don't you be part of our team? So I had just finished my master's in film and television, and I was doing this in India, this teaching. And then one priest invited me to East Africa. He said, in Kenya, the cardinal invited us to Don Bosco's to build a media center for producing programs for young people. Come over. I said, Africa, great. I said, okay, Father, I will come. But then when I landed at the airport, he told me, Raj, we have a tiny problem. The center there is a technical school which actually opened by this Irish priest who was my teacher in India. And he said, 3 priests have gone from there. They have gone to Sudan. And so, can you just go and substitute for a few months there? And it was a school, a technical school in Nairobi, Karen, for boys between 18 and 22 who grew up either in jails or on the street. Out of 180 boys I had in the boarding, only 20 had their parents, but were too helpless. But the rest of them, no trace of who their father was. So that's where I started, and it was a technical school for them. I was never in a technical school before, but during those 8 years or 7 years plus that I stayed, it taught me what skills training combined with a certain training of changing of values, how it can make them more normal than normal kids. In fact, I used to put 85 boys in the jail making use of my Indian face, because 85% in Kenya of all the industries and they were all owned by Indians. And I smile. Tell them, hey, I'm an Indian, but no competition. But I got lots of boys, trained, and they used to take, because among the Indians there is this, also the Hindus especially, if you do this kind of charitable work, they share the merit of it if they will assist you. So great. So now, while there 5 years, I meet this young lady who was sent by Don Bosco to work with what you call street children. And then Dorien came back again at my invitation to start a computer training for girls from the slums, because UNICEF said, you are doing only for boys, why don't you start something for girls? I said, yeah. I had to get a volunteer to do that, because we can't, with no budget. So Dorien came, and then Dorien, before going back, when she finished, she wanted somehow to get back to Africa, continue this kind of work. So that's how this whole thing, within a year, 98, we met here and drew up a 3-page policy. We didn't give any name that time, but in 98, so that is why it is the silver jubilee year of all sorts. In February, we wrote the policy paper of three pages, all this. First of all, our target group would be youngsters who are academically and financially handicapped or financially disadvantaged. And then the second thing is, it will be skills training combining with value education, what we call life skills training and entrepreneurship training. And then we will run the whole center, not with teachers, but with entrepreneurs. People who run each department as their business, so youngsters learn looking at carpentry. Hey, my boss makes money making tables and chairs, and why can't I? You know, they should get that motivation. So those are the 3 things we wrote, and we still follow. Those are the essentials of Young Africa now. You see, that is the training itself, 3: skills training, life skills, and entrepreneurship training, and franchise model, and youngsters who are academically and financially handicapped, disadvantaged. In fact, certain times I get some smart teachers, they say, Raj, come on, I think we've got to give some kind of an entrance test to admit our. Some of these brothers come so stupid. I said, yeah, I think you gave me an idea. We will conduct an entrance test and take those who fail. So, yeah, these are some of those little things. So, 98, we wrote that policy. Then, by Dorien, I think within 2 months, in April, she already registered in Young Africa. Registered an organization. The name that Dorien wanted to give was YA. Yes, she said for a donor. When we apply for things, people have to say yes because they say yes to yes. But then the registrar at the office said, no, you can't have the name YA. You know, right? It's too ordinary, too simple. And then she phoned me up in the evening in India, told me that, yeah, I thought of it, yeah, Young Africa. So I gave the name Young Africa. So it has stuck. Beautiful. So I told her, nothing can be nicer than this. So, okay, so we have Young Africa. Then that year, July, we both left. Dorien said, you know, and I left Don Bosco's to come. So I didn't have any money, but Dorien had 1,500 between us, and with that we started. And it took us some time to buy our first car. I think it took us 7 months to buy our first old car, and like that slowly things. But we made lots of friends. We started working from day 1, and within the first week already we were taken to Chitungwiza, a township 30 kilometers away from central Harare, and they said, yeah, the people who took us said, there is an old Irish man who wanted to do something for young people, but he didn't really succeed. Maybe he will be of great, you may be a great support to him. And we visited, and Dorien said, we visited, and we told them about us. They warmly welcomed us, and Chitungwiza is a township with about 1 million people, 1.2 million people that time. And so much so, when we went to the mayor a few months on the run, Dorien's Latin and Greek students of Velus Collegia here, they wanted to raise funds to commemorate their 20th year of their school. And they wanted a project to fund. And we immediately said, yeah, we will put a technical school, because people, as Dorien said, the 3 questions, people wanted skills training. So we went to the mayor, and the mayor literally got up from his chair, put out his hand saying, there are 1.2 million people here, we are 15 primary schools, 7 high schools. You will be the first ones to start a skills training place. So we were welcome. He offered us land, and that's where we are. Young Africa is right now. And then few years later, everything picked up so fast in Zimbabwe, which was fantastic for us as beginners. And then by 2005, that year, we opened another place in other side of the airport, 25 kilometers away, called Epworth. And the Ministry of Youth Development told us, hey, why you're going to a church and we have a place, you can come and occupy that. And so we received funding there and we moved in. And all the while, when we were building these 2 centers, one thing that we were very happy was it was young people to young people. Initially, we didn't have any big major funders. It was Wild Geese. Robert is here. Yeah. So they, along with the funds raised by school kids of the Latin and Greek students who started with, of where Dorien used to teach, and yeah, only when we went to Mozambique in 2006, we started with the European Union and few bigger guys like British and German, and all one slowly began. But initially this was the story, and then the what we call, oh yeah, no, I have only 3 sheets and I mistook the thing. Yeah, so by July, what do you call, in 2005, the ambassador of Mozambique came over to visit our center, brought in by the Dutch ambassador. He said, why don't you come to Mozambique? And yeah, we said, okay, this center that we have built, 2 centers, I think they can manage on their own. And so we went to Mozambique. And again, we had visited Holland here at that time, and I think friends gave us quite some money. I mean, people were generous. And we said, hey, this time what meant we can take 7,500 US when we start the new place. It's not like before. And you won't believe it, that 7,500 was taken by the immigration because they said you can't carry this. So customs took us and we were back again with 1,500 to start the Mozambique project, Young Africa. But then, but within a few days we saw in our account in Holland, somebody had donated the same amount. I have always said, somebody up there, always, gives us a support. So in Mozambique, we started again in the place, and that center too became a little bigger than Young Africa, Zimbabwe, because the need was also enormous. But in Mozambique, our initial struggle was to get people interested in. Unlike in Zimbabwe, Mozambique, I don't know why. I think all the years of civil war and people had not much of an education background because one generation missed out schooling for 17, 18 years. So they missed out. But then Dorien had a very creative idea of putting some youngsters who would prepare a drama and go around in the different marketplaces. The slogan was, learn today and start working and earning tomorrow. And yeah, that worked. I think there was Thomas who was with us that time to join us in that first initiative. I think Ritu was there, I think, with the first group. So that one, when we were there, Dorien became Ashoka Fellow, and they put that new push into us to expand this idea to other countries. So then we expanded to Namibia, Botswana, Zambia, and that's where we are now, 25 years. It's so my story just ends there because I think now I leave Dorien. I took you don't need.
journey of Young Africa started really as a tiny organization, and we made a little jump where in 2007 we won the award of Wild Geese, other Wild Geese NCDO, for the best private initiative in the Netherlands. So here, he had to be here, my dad, the founding chairman of Young Africa here in the Netherlands, and we were very proud there. But we had a volunteer base in the Netherlands. Raj and I were working from Africa, and that was it. So let's fast forward now to where we are right now as an organization, Young Africa International. We are the guardian of the DNA of Young Africa. We have our supporting office here next door in the SDG house of the Royal Tropical Institute, and our headquarters, after all, power where the action is, in Zimbabwe at our Young Africa hub. We work with about 20 people, Young Africa International, in Africa, in the Netherlands, people working remotely for us, but we are now a team of 20, and we are more professional. Chris leading the team here in the Netherlands. Chris, you didn't introduce yourself. Ladies and gentlemen, Christian Schaefer, Partnership Manager. The present of Young Africa. Bart already mentioned it, and it came about in the panel discussion, very rich panel discussion, by the way. What we do is this integral approach to youth empowerment. Always and everywhere we work, we offer young people an integral approach. If it is to be, it is up to me, and that needs skills of the hands, like Susan said, vocational training, integrated with entrepreneurship, with life skills education, which tackles subjects as living with a sense of purpose, standing up for yourself, communication, a very large health aspect as well, work readiness, empathy, communication, problem solving, really the soft skills that young people need to find, to become employable, to be useful for the private sector, government employers. And we included, so entrepreneurship, back to the previous slide, please. Yeah. Very important is not just leave young people after their training, but also help them to integrate into the market with job placement, access to finance to start a business, and follow them up afterwards. What Susan mentioned as the postgraduate toolbox, fully integrated. Plus, support services like mental health support, psychosocial support has become increasingly important to give youth the boost to really live a healthy life in every aspect of their well-being. How do we do what we do? Let me run you quickly through that. We have our own training center, own training centers in various countries. We also have a mobile training program where in a truck, teachers, equipment, they go to remote places, rural areas, border towns, but also conflict zones like Cabo Delgado, the northern provinces of Mozambique. We do really well with this mobile training because it's a very agile program. We don't flood markets with huge amounts of motor mechanics or hairdressers, but we really go from place to place. It's very scalable as well. And then the other thing, the third method of delivering our methodology is always working with other partners. Youth unemployment, the problem is far too large for Young Africa to solve it alone. So we do need to partner. We have a model that works, so it's good to share that with other NGOs, work together with the private sector, and lobby with governments to take over aspects of our model and integrate that into their educational and youth empowerment policies. That works. Next is what makes us innovative is actually two different aspects. One is the franchise model. Very simple, you bring a business model into a training center and create an ecosystem where the student is at the top of the apex. He or she learns by doing, skills of the hands. We have entrepreneurs who run the training units, make money with their business in our production units and pay rent for that facility. Now that rent goes to the training center, the Young Africa Training Center. We deliver all the theory parts, the life skills, the support services, and because of the income that comes in, the center can sustain part or completely their own operational income. So it's a business model for vocational training. And that was an innovation, and it's still seen as such. So that makes us unique. UNESCO has recognized us twice for that model as a best practice innovation for technical vocational education and training. The other thing that makes us unique right now is this mobile training approach, because it really helps to reach the hard to reach target groups. So we do that currently in Zambia, Mozambique and Zimbabwe. It's a large program supported by the Dutch Ministry of Foreign Affairs. It's great, thanks. Where do we work? Netherlands, support office. Zimbabwe, the international head office. We are a confederation of independently registered organizations, so we have implementing organizations in Zimbabwe, Mozambique, Zambia, and Namibia. And our third method of delivery, sharing with other organizations. Currently, that happens in Malawi, Tanzania, Ghana, Ethiopia, Botswana. And let me share some news with you. Just last week, we signed a new contract to expand to Angola as well. Let me share 25 years of impact with you, because really that's all that matters. That's the only thing that really matters. What is our contribution to the world and to African people? 300,000 beneficiaries of our youth. Sorry, Pap, the 800 you mentioned was really, unfortunately, not yet true. Getting there. We always want more than 50% female beneficiaries, empowerment of young women. We also believe in integral approach to everything, so there must be a balance. Those young boys cannot be left behind. So half-half, but over half women. More than 50,000, we're touching 60,000 young people who have gone through this very deep impact, full program approach of vocational training with all the other support services. We measure our success with a few indicators. One of them is how much do our graduates increase their income after the training compared to before, and that's a factor 4. And we've also calculated that of every dollar that we invest in a young person, in 5 years' time they turn out $8. So, talking return on investment, there you are. Now, what does this mean for Agnes? Because that's really important. We talk big numbers, and we want the numbers to grow, but we are incredibly aware that each of these numbers is a life, and with each life that we touch, there are 5 dependents, and that is really creating the snowball effect that we want with our work. So what does this contributes to solve Agnes' problem of needing livelihood. Well, here we are, the gender equality aspect, and you see Agnes there repairing a car because she's studying, as you saw in the video, she has chosen to study motor mechanics. And we have hostels for girls who come from very deprived situations, who've grown up in orphanages or who come from child-headed households and who need a safe place to stay while they do their training with us. We help them to get onto their feet because when they come from an orphanage, they don't even know really how to survive in the world. We have a program for that. And then we do believe in women's empowerment, role modeling in that. So I'm proud to say that we don't only have Susan Ardodo as a female country director, all our country directors and the CEO, we are all women. With all this, we contribute to the SDGs, and here we are. You know them, I'm sure. I don't need to spell them out for you. Because Agnes is not alone, there are, well, we've heard the statistics. The youth population is growing in Africa, and we believe in their power. The power of the energy of young people in general, and in Africa it is it's beaming with life. They are hungry for knowledge. They are hungry to contribute meaningfully to making the world a better place than it was for their parents. When we talk about this ambition, because it means that in the coming few years we need to make a bump of 200,000 youths to train. And even that we know is only such a small percentage that we can tackle. But it's not just a number, it's 200,000 times Agnes and her baby and her dependents, and those are the lives that we are aiming to touch. So we have various approaches and ways in which we want to tackle that, in which we want to offer all kinds of new programs. Certainly expanding to new countries is high on the agenda, but also expanding in the countries where we are already working. And like I said before, sharing the model with youth organizations, sharing the model, making partnerships with the private sector who need these skills, the skills development so badly to develop, and keep on pushing governments, stimulating governments, and inspiring governments to share our model. We know we also need to innovate. We heard the panel speak about the new skills that are up and coming in Africa, and we are tapping into that potential because we don't only see it as a need, we see it as an opportunity. These are the new areas where there will be jobs for our youth. We can prepare our youth for that, and that's what we are doing. That means we need to remain sharp and innovate all the time ourselves. So we are currently one of the 2 organizations in Africa has been funded by the European Union to set up a digital platform for vocational training. We're working on that. We will deliver it next year. So that's one step. Digital literacy is already fully integrated into our training program. And then we believe in greenovation. So green skills, greening our training center, the recycle economy. Africa's got the sun, so solar technology. We are already training solar technicians at every one of our centers and in our mobile training, but we will expand that in the future. We can tap into that energy resource. Working on renewable energy, training young people in everything that has to do with that, but also preparing them for climate change. So all our programs will also get that element of building resilience to climate change. We see it in the Netherlands, we see it in Africa, even I think more extremely with extreme droughts, with extreme floods, changing of the season. And we will create, I mean, it is what it is, but what we can do is prepare our youth for that and create skills and jobs in that entirely new area. But we need to innovate for that, we need to greenovate for that, and remain agile ourselves, be on top of the game and keep thinking and looking ahead at the market, what young people want, but also what the private sector needs, so that that skills gap gets closed. We have integrated that with our franchise model at our training center and always working together with the private sector, but we need to always remain on top of our game. So innovation is high on the agenda for us. 25 years, and like I said, the fire is burning. I hope you can hear it. The fire is burning to do more, to grow, to keep thinking ahead, to keep expanding. There's no way we can rest, but we can't do that alone. We really need you. PAP already appeals to all of us. Well, I think with the sense of urgency that I personally feel, that I know my team and my colleagues, my supervisory board, we all share. The urgency, the responsibility, and also it's just the wisest choice to invest in skilling youth in Africa. There will be many of them. Let's make sure they live with the sense of purpose and they have the skills of the hands, heart, mind, and soul to make the change where they are. So what does that mean for Agnes? Agnes still needs a job. Agnes still needs her livelihood. We need you to be part of that. The appeal of PAP was stronger than I can even give it to you. The future is young. The future is Africa. We believe in Africa. We believe in young people. And 500,000 young people empowered means 500,000 young people like Agnes with a job, with a sense of purpose, with a sense of belonging, and empowered to create the world around her that she wants young people in charge as well. So in Africa, we start celebrating 25 years Young Africa. From tomorrow onwards, Mozambique is starting festivals, arts, dance, culture, theater, marathons in Zimbabwe, fairs. Our young people really know how to celebrate, and our teams know how to facilitate that. So we are kicking off the celebrations here today, and our teams in Africa will follow. You can follow it on social media as well. Thank you for celebrating with us. We hope we have inspired you. We would like to invite you more than ever, with a greater sense of urgency than ever before, to be part of creating the change that we want to make. We have a wall of wishes, and Christian will explain to you how it works. I hope, after having thanked all of you, supervisory boards, very happy to see one of our, actually the second board chair of Young Africa, Hyman. Thank you to all of us, all of you sponsors here in the room, our partners represented by our Irish partner for 15 years, Surf represented by John, Joe, and Ethan. Hi Ethan, you still awake? Eating ice cream. SOS Children's Villages, who is replicating our model, our ambassadors, Thomas, Jose, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Impact Investors, all our partners. Thank you so much, panel speakers. Wonderful that you are part of this celebration. May the wall of wishes become a wall of pledges. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for being here. It's wonderful to have you. It's wonderful to celebrate together. Back to you, Mr. President.